Live. Right. If you've suffered from trauma or know somebody who has, then you're in the right place. I think most, if not all, of us have experienced or carried trauma to this day. It can impede our lives in ways we may not even be aware of, though in extreme examples, you'll be acutely aware of the impact. What if there was an effective way to release and heal it? Well, today I'm joined by author of Santa Claus and the Law of Attraction, a wonderful read, and I highly recommend it. She's also a licensed professional counselor, a speaker, a consultant who specializes in using EMDR to help people move from trauma to transformation. This allows them to achieve their goals and dreams. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to bring you Celeste Eckman Himanek. Welcome to the show, Celeste.
Good morning, Danny. At least it's morning for me, right?
That's right. Yes, there's a bit of a 8 hour time difference between us, but that's cool.
It
You
is
can,
cool. It's so
yeah,
cool we can be in such disparate places and still connect like this. I think it's awesome.
that's right. I'm in the future.
I love that. I haven't thought of that concept. Yes, I'm time traveling this morning.
Yes,
Awesome.
that's right.
Great. Doing a little quantum jump, right?
Yeah, we were just talking about that before we went live. Yes.
Right?
So I'd love you to give us the reasons you got into working with trauma. Um, what was the catalyst? Was that where you started at, or has that just been a kind of a progression in your professional work?
No, it kind of got served up to me. I finished I was done with all of my coursework for my doctorate, and I was looking to start working so that I could offset all those student loans, right? And one of the ways you can do that is by finding areas that need licensed providers, and you can go and work off your loans because the government will help. They have a program for that. So that is what motivated the move. And so we moved from Michigan all the way across the country to Southern Oregon. And I started working for this lovely community mental health agency called Options for Southern Oregon, it's just an amazing place to work. And when I started my work there, I was doing assessments, people coming in to get assessed for services. And as I'm seeing all of this come in, I'm talking to the supervisors and the people who, are grounded in the area. And I'm diagnosing about 85% of the people coming in here with PTSD. Is this me or what's going on? And that's when I started sticking my toe in the water of like trauma work. And so after getting more of an explanation of like what's going on, we've got a lot of poverty in our area, a lot of addictions, a lot of domestic violence. I mean, there's a lot of beautiful things too, but when people are coming in for help, these are the things they're showing up with. So first of all, it was great to know, okay, so it's not just me. This really is what's going on. And then my next question is, what are we doing about it? How 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 do we work with this? And one of the first books I read was absolutely riveting by a gentleman by the name of David Grant. And his book is, I want to say it's like Healing at the Speed of Light, or and it is a beautiful clinical read. Those things don't usually go together, right? But I'm like, okay, EMDR, I want to learn more about this stuff. So EMDR is eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, which is quite the mouthful, but it is an evidence-based practice that is proven effective for trauma. It's endorsed and supported by multiple agencies and organizations. And so I thought, I'm going to get trained in this stuff. So I went back then, they used to have it in two different segments. And you went and you did part one, and then you could come back and do part two if you kind of like, if you wanted to. And so when I went to the first training, I was not impressed by the presenter, and she kind of made you feel like, okay, now you've just been handed this time bomb because it's this very powerful therapeutic intervention, and be careful. And I was a little surprised and thinking, I don't know, even though the experience I had while I was in there was pretty cool because you've got to have, you do the work with someone else while you're there as part of your training. So I used an old memory that wasn't that, it wasn't exactly traumatic because we weren't trying to have a whole room full of traumatized people, right? But so you're asked to work on something small, but it was small, but it was pretty vibrant still. It still had that energetic charge to it. And so I used that. And what was really interesting is that it wasn't that upsetting, but I could still clearly remember it. And as the day went by, I noticed that it was no longer in technicolor in my memory in the same way. And it was getting fuzzier and it was fading. And by the end of the night, it was in black and white. And then in the next day, I still know what happened. It's still there. I can call it up if I want to, but it wasn't right there and present the instant I thought of it. And so what EMDR does is it takes that energetic charge out of things so that now it gets to just be a memory, right? It's the concept that normal memories are something that we have and they happen and they kind of get put away in our file cabinet. And then the same way you might want to reminisce over your anniversary or the birth of your child or some other event, you take the scrapbook out and you open it up and you look at it. And with traumatic memories, it's more like the scrapbook is chasing you instead of just being over here where you can take it out. EMDR helps you put those memories in the scrapbook so you can set them aside. It doesn't eliminate the event from your history. It's just no longer activating you in the same way. So even though I thought that first experience was pretty cool, I had some trepidation around using it because I told you this woman made me feel like now I got a time bomb. And then a gentleman showed up in my office that his trauma was so ugly that I felt like if I didn't use this, I wasn't even being ethical. And so I said to him, I'm like, you know what? I got this thing. I got trained in this. How'd you like to be my guinea pig? Would you like to try this with me? And he was having daily, vivid, technicolor recall of a horrible, ugly event in which someone very dear to him had died. And this had been happening for him for 9 years. And I felt like if we don't try this, I'm not doing right by you. And so we worked on that. And in less than 2 hours, we had cleared that. And then I was like, okay, now I'm in. Now I'm in. Here we go. I'm doing the deep dive. And ever since that day, I've been absolutely committed to trying to be the best I can be at bringing this to people.
Yeah, you've speculated quite a few questions I was going to have there. As I was thinking the questions, you were answering them, so you're in tune. So do people go into abreaction? I suppose they do when you're processing it, but obviously you were there to make sure that they don't stay in there. And presumably it's electronic. It's some kind of machine technology, is it?
No. I mean, so great questions. And the first thing is my message is working on your trauma doesn't have to be traumatic. It just doesn't. And if it is too big or too much, then you need to slow down. And before you dive into doing this work, there are some things that you need to make sure that people have on board, like some good grounding exercises. We're doing resourcing to make sure you can do a state change. And if you're getting distressed, can you come back down? And it's it's very much you need to be attuned to the person that you're working with. And it is very much when people come in, it's like, okay, this is like I'm teaching you how to do EMDR because it's weird and it's different. It's not usually what people are experienced in. And so we're walking through it bit by bit. And I'm asking people, just notice that. And what does that look like for you? And it does not need to be horrible, awful, painful, right? We're working on things that are distressing. And so we go in knowing that. But there are ways to keep it from being ugly. And I'm all about let's make this as fun as we can within the container that we know we're working on some hard stuff, but it doesn't have to be horrible, right? I work with a lot of kids. We use artwork. I use all kinds of things. And as far as electronics, you can. Some people like using light bars, and so it's a bar that they turn on that clients can watch back and forth. And I have I have a bunch of wands that I use. I use this with kids, right? I have a Harry Potter wand that I use with adults. It's great because it lights up on the end and it's very easy to follow. I have this little this little guy for kids, and it's very effective. It's it's the eye movement that the most research has been done on. And also when we moved into COVID, there are ways of you can do it's really beautiful because you can do EMDR online. It's very effective. And also a butterfly hug, which is you're crossing your hands, doing this tapping, and we're using that bilateral stimulation in that way. So there's lots of tools, there's lots of ways to do it. I think it's really important to have a lot of tools in your toolbox because not everybody's is the same. Some people love that butterfly hug. Other people find it uncomfortable or irritating. So I'm all about whatever works. That's what we're going to roll with.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So is the rapid eye movement, is that like a pattern interrupt? Is that how it works?
There's a lot of theories about how does it work and why, which it hasn't been totally melted down to the absolute answer. The the bilaterals have a lot to do with it, and it's also believed that it very much simulates your rapid eye movement during sleep. And EMDR came out of the famous Walk in the Park by Francine Shapiro in 1987. And she was thinking about something distressing and she was walking through the park and she noticed that as she was thinking about it and her eyes were going from left to right, she was becoming less distressed about it. And so there's your light bulb moment, right? And so then she takes the concept and does it with intention. And so but what she was also doing is she was walking. That's also a bilateral stimulation. There are lots of things that we bring to therapy that people do naturally. And even when you think about when you're distressed, a lot of people tap their feet left and right on the floor. A lot of times people tap on their legs with their hands like this. So it's bringing all of these pieces together on purpose and with intention that turns it around.
Yeah. It's funny when you said earlier that you need to have plenty of tools in your toolkit, and because as you say, not everyone is visual or
Right,
auditory, etc. And
right,
I've usually got my favorite way of working. If that doesn't work, I've got a plan B, a plan C, a plan D, and so on and so on and so on. I remember working with one young lady, and she was really traumatized. And I find one of the worst things you can say is, "I'm sorry, I'm not the right therapist for you. I'll try and match you with somebody else." That can make them feel even worse.
yep,
So what I ended up doing was kind of tuning in, and she was teaching me live there and then, without her knowing it, how to work best with her. So I was
right.
learning as I was going. I thought, wow, I've never worked this way before, but it's working for her. So yeah, you've got to be just get out of the way.
And what you're talking about, Danny, is something that's so incredibly important, and it's attunement. And that, the best definition, Sheriff Slotty, I think, um, incorporated to this from a couple things, but it's being seen, being heard, feeling felt, and getting gotten, right? And the ability to be with people and hold space when they're working through very difficult things, it can be hard. And the number one thing is make sure you have cleaned out your own emotional closet as a therapist, as a healer, as a worker of any sort. Because I will tell you, if you haven't cleaned it up, somebody's going to walk in that door with your stuff. They're going to bring that traumatic stuff that is their own that you share with them. And if you have done your own work, then you are able to sit with them and be present in a way that you can't if it's still chewing on you and you're getting activated while you're with someone. That's a recipe for discomfort, if not disaster.
Yeah, I can think of twice when I've been triggered, working with a client. Once was many years ago, and another time was even more recent, probably within the last 2 years, 18 months.
Hmm.
And I'm just realizing now when you said that it was me being triggered. I hadn't even actually made that connection myself. Yes, you're right. And
Yeah,
obviously, the less triggered you can be during a session, the better. Hopefully, not at all.
absolutely.
Not at all.
Absolutely. Yeah, it took me, it took, it was really interesting because when I went to that initial EMDR training and they're talking about working on your trauma, I'm sitting there going, I'm fine. I don't have that stuff. And then I'm like, oh crap. Yeah, I do. It's kind of like the more you look, the more you find. And it took me quite a while to find somebody that I would trust enough to work with because I'm just very private. And when I did, I mean, she's awesome, amazing, and a leader in the field. And I had to drive about 5 hours to get there. I set up a half day intensive with her. I had my list. I was ready, you know. And so I drove down, spent the night. I wake up that morning, and here's a memory knocking on the door that was not on my list, right? And I'm like, oh no. And so, first of all, I think it's really good that I know exactly what it feels like to not want to work on your stuff. So when people come to me, I'm like, I get it. Trust me, I know what that feels like. And here's this memory that was just like little elves tapping on me saying, you have to work on this. And I was not interested. I was like, oh, that's a big ugly. And how did it not be on my list, right? And so I went in and we worked on that thing. And guess what? I had an intensive with somebody that weekend that one of the things that they brought with them was one of mine. And it was that big ugly. So that way I'm able to sit there and be present with that person in a way that I wouldn't have been able to do if I hadn't cleared that out. So that's why it's so important to work on your own stuff and clean out your own emotional closet.
Yeah, amen to that. We've got Carolyn just jumped on saying hello. Thank you for joining us, Carolyn. If anybody's got any comments, feedback, questions for Celeste, please do
Sure.
drop them in the chat box, and we'll address them live or circle back if you're catching a replay, and address them retrospectively.
Yeah.
So presumably you've seen the transformations that people have been through in your work. You've had follow-up sessions or people giving you
Yep.
testimonials or feedback after the event. Have you got
Yeah.
anything to share?
Sure. It's and what prompted me most recently was a few things that I had heard. A couple from clients, and one was from somebody who's out there in the coaching world, and they had done a Facebook live, and they're talking about the fact that just deal with the fact that you can't be healed. We're just all here to be human, and what was it? When you're healed, you're dead. And so healing just really isn't possible. You just got to build that muscle and power through. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful of anybody at all. But I'm sitting there going, oh my God, that's so not true. And so when there's people out there sending the message of, you're just going to have to learn to suck it up and get on with it, right? Get over it. Oh, I just love time will heal all wounds. No, it doesn't. It helps you grow a good scar or a scab, right? Scar implies healing to me. A scab is something that's still easily picked at, and that wound is still there. The bruise is still there when you push on it. And yeah, the words were, it's never gonna happen. So that lit my fire. And then I'm working with a veteran who had done time in Afghanistan. He's got some big ugly, and I've worked with multiple veterans. It's one of my highest honors. I have a lot of military in my family. So that really helps me feel like I'm giving back. So I'm working with this gentleman on his biggest, ugliest. And what I find with veterans is that I have to let them know that I'll be okay, because they're so worried about, if I share this with you, it's going to be too much for you. I'm like, no, I know how to do this. It's okay. But thank you. Thank you for that. And the beauty of EMDR also is that you don't have to talk about it. It doesn't have to be this big, huge thing where we're just going on and on and on about every gory detail. You don't have to do that. And so that was really beautiful. And we worked through his big ugly, as he called it. And he got to the end, and here's the part I love the most, is when people are just sitting there with this dazed look on their face. Like, I can't believe that. This is not upsetting me. It's kind of the hit in the head with a baseball look. And I'm just like, yes, and that's when we're high-fiving each other. And it's like, yes. And this gentleman had been told by somebody at the VA, the Veterans Administration, you're never going to get over this. You're just going to have to learn to live with it. That's the message that he received. And so I had a funnier one, is that this woman I was working with, she had something coming up the coming weekend that she knew was going to trigger her. She was going to be back in it with her family. You talk about triggers, right? And so she's anticipating this is going to be horrible. We're working on this thing. She gets to the end and she's like laughing. And she says, Celeste, do you remember what you told me about EMDR? And I'm like, I don't know. I say a lot of things. What did I say? And she said, you told me that you see miracles happen. And I'm like, yeah. And she goes, I thought you were so full of shit. It makes me laugh every time. And I was just like, oh my God. And and now she's like laugh crying. And she said, but why would I believe you when I have never had any sort of miracle happen for me? Why would I believe you? And so that's one of the things that I see in terms of my agency work, is I feel like I have to be more of a salesman for EMDR, right? Because they're coming in for help, but they aren't exactly seeking out EMDR. So I have to serve it up. And I do serve it up. Like, this is a menu. Here's what's on the menu. And this is one of our best sellers, right? But it's that people have a hard time believing anything can be different. If it's always been this way, they just assume it's always gonna be that way. And it's very different when people come to me through my private practice and they're looking for EMDR. So they've heard that this can be helpful. So they already have a little bit of belief, or at least some hope, that things can be different. And it can be life changing. It really, really can be. And I get I get so excited about doing trauma work, because I know it can be different. That's the part.
sorry, I remember when you said somebody was told that they're just going to have to learn to live with a trauma. And if you get rid of people's hope, they've got nothing left. People need hope that things can improve, their lives can transform. Take that away and they can just be crushed. So so good for you and good for him to be healed from that trauma. That's amazing.
Yeah.
You've got an exciting new retreat office space, haven't you, as well?
I do. I do. And it's so exciting. I just love it. It's, I walk in the door and I go, ah, it feels so nice in here. Right. And it's, you can't create safety for somebody else, but you can do the best you can to make it feel as warm and welcoming as possible. And so I do day long intensive trauma focused therapy. And to me, it's really efficient. Think about when you think about that medical model of that typical, oh, we're going to see you an hour a week. And now it went down to 50 minutes. Now it's like 45 minutes. And the whole time's up, got to go now. And usually if somebody's really in a position of trauma and working on something really hard, it can take you that long just to get warmed up. And so with this, we're not having to work around those time constraints, and we're doing day long sessions. Of course, we take breaks, we go to the bathroom, we take lunch, and I'm just so delighted that I can offer people can stay on site. And so the next morning, it's like, what time do you want to start again in the morning? And we're digging right in and doing another day or multiple days. It depends. I've had people do a couple weekends in a row. This person decided to stay the whole weekend. And it's a lovely, lovely way to work.
Indeed. And when you were saying, these days you get a 45-minute session, I know I've been working with clients, and the sessions had to be over an hour and a half because they were in ab reaction. And I thought, there's no way I can leave them where they are at the moment.
Right.
I'm going to have to keep with them, processing it. Otherwise, you just re-traumatize them. If you say, right, time's up, sucks to be you.
Oh, right. And even and I know how to work within those parameters. I can because I know how. I mean,
Yeah.
and you've got to keep your eye on the clock, and you have to use containment exercises at the end, and you've got to make sure they're safe and put back together before they walk out the door. And I can do that, and I have to do that in some of my other work. But in my private practice, I want to do it the way it feels good, right? And it's kind of like a therapeutic Airbnb. And I want people to feel safe and cared for, and that they get to step out of the world for a while. And it's interesting because I live pretty rural, and they just put down new high fiber cable optic gobbledygook that I'm sure will improve my Wi-Fi speed. And I thought, oh, because it's just a half mile down the road from my house. And I thought, oh, I should probably upgrade it down there. And I'm like, no, I'm not, because I want people to be able to disconnect. There's still service. You can still get it, but it's another way of disconnecting from that. Because even when you think about having to show up for a session every week at the same time, and you have children or your car or your dog or your husband, your partner, or your whatever, it gets in the way. And this way, you get to come in and get it done. And it doesn't mean that, okay, now we're in fairyland and everything's all better, but you've cleaned out a lot of stuff. It puts you in a stronger position. Of course, other things are going to come up, but now you've just done a whole big chunk of work, and it's just beautiful.
Yeah. You work on Skype as well, you were saying earlier, so you can do these sessions. Would you do a long intensive working on Skype?
I have, yes. Yeah, we've done that too. It's just, I mean, it's just as effective. It's different. You've got to tune in different ways. I'll tell you, I was so grateful. I have a colleague who wanted to do some work, and it was 2 weeks before COVID. And I told him, I said, yeah, I said, this would be great. I said, how about we do a half day and you get to be my guinea pig to see if we can do this online. And so we did that work online, and here comes COVID 2 weeks later. And I was just like, phew, I know it works. I don't have to freak out and be, you know, not like we weren't kind of freaked out and on the edge of our chairs anyway. But it was nice to have that in my pocket and know, okay, we can do this. It'll be okay. So.
Yeah, cool. Do you think, on a different note, do you think you'll ever write another book?
Yes.
Yeah, I had a feeling you might say that.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm not exactly sure what it would be about, and it was so weird that I wrote that. All I can it's not. I'm not sure it's ever going to be some New York Times bestseller, but I was just. It was like I had to write it. That's all I can tell you, and it was really funny because I was looking at it last year before Christmas, and part of it was you wrote this because you needed to hear it, right? You needed to remind yourself that, yeah, the best gift is in you.
Yeah.
And it really is. And even when I look at EMDR, I am walking with people through this, but their beautiful brain is doing the work. I mean, they are doing it. I'm walking with them. And to me, that's the most beautiful thing about it because, yeah, the gift really is in you. It's there, it's them. I just have the biggest honor and privilege of being able to be the witness and the companion.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. The book
Yeah.
you were referencing earlier for those watching is called Santa Claus and the Law of Attraction, a delightful book, which is not only fun, but it's got lots of stories, anecdotal stories, your own experiences, and ways to tap into that magic. And I know you
Yeah.
said it'll never be or might never be a New York Times best-selling book, but knowing the way these things work, how they get to that status. Yeah, it's
Who
not always.
knows? It would be fun.
Yeah.
It was just it was, I mean, it's primarily about a mom who's just feeling all the stress of trying to be perfect at Christmas and wanting everything to be perfect for her kids, and the pressure of this and the financial pressure of that. And Santa comes and reminds her, you have other people, there are people who help. And he reminds her that the gift is in her.
Mhm.
And it's really weird. Just, I talk about it to you and it gives me goosebumps because I think that really is what we need in the world, is to be reminded that we really do have that magic. We really do. It's all this crap that gets stuck to us. I believe we come into this world pure, clean, and beautiful. And the things that other people's opinions or this event or things that happen to us, we just don't know how to make it different. And sometimes we don't even think it can be different. But if there's one person that can tell you it can be different, come on, give it a try, then to me, that's where the magic happens.
Exactly. Where can people buy your book if they want to read it? Is it on Amazon
Oh,
or?
yeah, it's on Amazon.
So that's Santa Claus and the Law of Attraction by Celeste Eckman Himanek. I recommend it. You can. I've seen. Remember, I got the PDF file of there.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah, you can download it or get the hard copy. Either way, that feels better
yeah,
to you.
that's right. Let's bring
Yeah,
back some wonderful memories.
yeah.
Yeah. So, how can people contact you if they want to get more information, or they might want to come and see you in person if they're in the area, or they might want to book a Zoom half day, or have a discovery call if you do those? How can they contact you?
Sure. Yep, they can reach out. All my information's on my website, realizationscounselingcenter.com. And I am findable that way. You can get me.
with American spelling of realization. Yes,
I'm going to say, did I spell it right?
No, you did. It's just obviously we spell it with an S.
You never know. Right. Okay.
Counseling.
Yeah.
We spell counseling differently as well.
Okay. Just to keep it interesting, right?
Yeah. Realizations Counseling Center or center.com.
Yeah.
Counseling. We spelled center differently. So realizations counseling center.com is Celeste's website. From there you can get more information, you can reach out and take things from there. Transform your life.
Yeah.
You owe it to yourself. Things can, the better it gets, I think it was Teal Swan who said, the better it gets, the better it gets, and the better it gets, the better it gets. And it's just more expansive, freedom, abundance, love, all of it.
Exactly. And it's interesting because you will come across those pessimists and the people who have, who've had a real hard time of it. And, oh, well, does it, is an absolute, is it really like some magic thing? It's like, no, but you know what? If you're upset to the level of a 10 and you just got it down to a 5, is that better? It's just really interesting. And it's the energetic charge of that emotional trauma, right? Our bodies can heal from stuff, but if something's getting you every time you think of it, and it's like this, right? And people can always tell me where they're carrying it in their body. I've never had anybody go, I don't know. It's like here, it's over here, it's in my back, it's in here, it's right. And it's those emotional hits, those you get to clean those up. So it doesn't take you out anymore. You're still going to feel the sadness of something that happened, but it's not taking you out. It's now it gets to be a part of your story instead of the whole story. Or like you can't even turn to the next page because you're stuck on this one, right? It helps you rewrite your narrative. How's that?
Yes, I love that. Helps you rewrite your narrative. In closing, Celeste, do you have any final thoughts?
No, I just love this work because I love it because I see it work. And like you said, the better it gets, the better it gets. I just love that. Thanks for that reminder.
Yes. Thank you, Celeste, for joining me.
Danny. It was fun to talk to you.
Yeah, for sure. And much love and success to you in your continued service work. Good for you.
And to you, Danny. I'm so glad you have this platform and that you bring so many people together because there's so many different ways to heal. And everybody, anytime you think, oh, I don't need to put myself out in the world, we were talking about that a little bit. I think of the bread aisle at the grocery store. And when you walk down the bread aisle, there's Italian, there's rye, there's wheat, there's white, there's this, there's that. And you know what you like. And so different healing methods are like that too. So just remember, it's worth it to put yourself out there.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Yeah, and thank you to Carolyn for jumping on this live stream and saying hi, and Delene as well. I forgot to shout you out. As you see, if you catch any replay, please do drop a comment in and subscribe. It helps the channel grow. So much love and thanks to you all for watching. Thank you to Celeste. Until the next one, much love and bye for now.